Shalom. Our Torah study this week is dedicated to Batya. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Emor, beginning in the book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra, chapter 21. Our parsha begins with laws Hashem teaches Moshe that are to be given over to the kohanim, the priests, to Aaron and his sons. These laws begin with the kohanim being forbidden to enter into a state of tumat metz, the contamination caused by exposure to human death, other than immediate close relatives. And the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, can't even become tameh for these. And once again, everybody is used to saying contamination or ritually unclean or impure. Those are definitions that most people are familiar with for tuma, but so woefully inadequate that it's actually misleading, because the state of tuma caused by being in the proximity of death is totally spiritual in nature. It has to do with what the dealing with death causes a person on a soul level. Now, other laws applying to the priesthood are given laws pertaining to whom a kohen may marry, to kohanim who are disqualified from service on account of a variety of physical blemishes, laws pertaining to the sanctity of offerings and of the teruma portion given to the kohanim, and laws of animals with disqualifying blemishes. And the parsha continues with chapter 23, which outlines the cycle of what Torah calls Hashem's appointed festivals, the holy convocations which are each to be designated in their appointed time. The remainder of the parsha after this chapter includes the mitzvah of keeping the pure menorah illuminated with olive oil continually, keeping the showbread arranged continually before Hashem, and the incident of the blasphemer, a man who blasphemed the name of God. And there's an interesting tradition recording by the Midrash as to the nature of this blasphemy. He began by casting doubt about this newly received commandment to display loaves of bread in Hashem's presence that would remain hot all week long. He doubted it could work. And an Israelite rebuked him, one thing led to another, and he ultimately blasphemed Hashem's name. And Moshe clarified with God what to do. God taught Moshe a new law, that this man must be put to death. But what's this all about, and what is this incident doing here? With God's help, we can see that all of these concepts are connected, that one single thread of thought runs through our parsha and unites all these ideas. And that thread represents then, as it does now, the greatest challenge that we face throughout our everyday lives. Challenge of living while staying focused on God in our lives. Now, as we read Parashat Emor, as we study, remember where we are and what's going on here. The tabernacle has been inaugurated. Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, were consumed by heavenly fire on account of the strange fire that they brought. And the nation is beginning its new life centered around the presence of Hashem in their midst, the tabernacle in their midst, even, as we learned in last week's Parashat Emor in chapter 16 and verse 16, even that dwells with them in the midst of their impurity. This is all new to them, then, as it is now, this calling, this mandate for this interaction. This is the whole heart of the Torah. This is the reason that we left Egypt. This is the reason that we were brought to Mount Sinai, to live totally centered on a consciousness, a connection to God. That's what's going on here. That's the background of Parashat Emor. Imagine what it would be like to live with a real feeling of attachment to God, constant, uninterrupted, knowing that this is the truth of reality, not just pretending like we do today. And so this is the goal. The Torah's goal is for that reality to be real. And everything mentioned in this portion is really about dvekut, which means clinging to God without interruption and not to be distracted. As people in space and in time, as we learned last week about the three levels of Ashan, about Olam, space, Shana, time, and Nefesh, life, these we're always dealing with the confluence of these three levels. Everything in our parsha is part of that program of keeping our minds, our hearts, our energies, our consciousness focused on Hashem in our lives. Now the blasphemer, he didn't think it could be done, this program. And the kohanim that we learned about the laws pertaining to the kohanim in the beginning of the parsha, they have a very central role in keeping this connection for the whole nation healthy and strong. And since they themselves literally form the conduit through which Hashem's presence can be experienced, they must not allow themselves to become distracted, even temporarily, by the illusion of separation, by the crippling angst that could be caused by a false and fleeting fear of death. The true reality is that on a soul level, death doesn't exist. All souls are forever alive. But death causes an inverted image of the true reality and these blemishes that we learn about in Parashat Emor. You know, some people are so put off, thinking it's not fair, you know, it's not their fault. These kohanim, if they have a deformity, they have a physical blemish, why aren't they equal in Hashem's eyes to serve before Him? See, but that's just it. We have it all wrong. In Hashem's eyes, they are equal, but not in man's eyes, and therefore their presence would be for everyone else a distraction, looking at them and emphasizing their difference and not keeping focused on Hashem. But it's not that a kohen who has a blemish isn't good enough. Maybe he's too good. And so too regarding the deeper reasons for the laws that we are learning here. It's all about how do we keep up our tight connection with Hashem as people through time and space, as the circle of the year turns, the appointed times of Hashem, the weekly Shabbat, and each festival at its appointed time, literally calling out holiness. That's what these words mean when we read in chapter 23. Eile mo'adei Hashem mikra'ei kodesh asher tikru'u otam b'mo'adam, translated as, these are Hashem's appointed festivals that you are to designate as holy convocations. It really reads, they call out holiness. And these days raise us up as people through the element of sanctified time. So the program, the Torah's program, is all about staying focused on Hashem. And one of the commandments that we learn about in this week's Parashat Emor, included here in this chapter of sanctified time, is a mitzvah that we are very occupied with at this time of year, on a daily, actually on a nightly level. And that is the counting of the Omer. As we learn here in the same chapter, Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you shall enter the land that I give you and you reap its harvest, you shall bring an Omer from your first harvest to the Kohen. He shall wave the Omer before Hashem to gain favor for you. On the morrow of the rest day, the Kohen shall wave it. The verses continue, you shall count for yourselves from the morrow of the rest day, that means the day after the first day of Passover, from the day when you bring the Omer of the waving, 7 weeks they shall be complete. Until the morrow of the 7th week you shall count 50 days, and you shall offer a new meal offering to Hashem. So everything that we learn about here regarding the Omer as well is about sanctifying time, or rather elevating ourselves through time. And that's the goal of the 7 complete weeks which we are commanded to count. And again, the word Omer, we have learned, means a measurement, the measurement of barley that was brought as an offering in the Holy Temple at the conclusion of the first day of Passover. So God commands Israel to count each day during this period of time between Passover and Shavuot, to articulate the number of days and weeks, 7 complete weeks. It's a mitzvah to count each day. And it's a commandment that is done with tremendous joy. We count the days with enthusiasm and anticipation, greatly looking forward to the giving of the Torah to Israel on Mount Sinai at Shavuot. And the counting of these days, of the counting of the Omer, the Sphira, it's about ascending level by level. And we're taught that these days of the Sphira, the counting of the Omer, are days of spiritual ascent, because they're days that provide us with the opportunity for intense character refinement and teshuvah, repentance. So these are special days, the days of the Omer, holy days, each day broadcasting a particular spiritual emanation that corresponds to a divine attribute that challenges us to address issues within our own personality, to fix our own attributes that may be preventing us from reaching our full potential. And precisely because these very days, the days of the counting of the Omer, are days of such sublime holiness, that's why they're included in this very chapter, Same chapter that enumerates all of Israel's festivals. Our sages go further and say that the entire year, the spiritual success that we'll all have, is dependent on these very days of the counting of the Omer, days in which a person's true essence can be revealed. In previous teachings throughout the years, we've studied and discussed the concepts related to Sfirat Omer, the counting of the Omer, and we've mentioned that the word Sfira, literally accounting, and its form in the imperative of the mitzvah, the sfor, to count, they're all related to words that are formed by the same roots. Sefer, a book; sapir, a sapphire, precious stone that shines; sipur, a story; lisaper, to tell. Because really, when we count the days of the Omer during this period and we focus on fixing our character traits that are associated with each particular day and refining ourselves as the people we would and should become, in essence, what we're actually doing is we're telling the story of our own lives. And our goal is to make our days, every one of our days, to make them count, to make them shine. So our sages teach us that these 7 weeks are the key to the entire year, a time predisposed and receptive to a high form of repentance. But you see, here's where you have to open up your heart in the deepest way. The counting, the tally of the days of a person's life, they're not really assembled together in one unit. Listen, because what has already happened and what hasn't happened yet don't even exist. The only thing we have that exists is the present, passing, fleeting moments. And the deepest lesson of our spiritual growth during the days of the counting of the Omer is that it's only through action, through a positive deed, maaseh, that this time of our life, this particular moment, could ultimately, eventually be included in the story of our lives that we are writing and that will one day be told. Because after all, the present moment will also very soon be gone. So what will differentiate it from the past, which doesn't exist? The only way that any moment can be included, gathered into the accounting, the reckoning of our days, is by doing something about it, by doing something to show where we're here. And however long that took, that amount of time that that deed took makes it real. So open up your heart in the deepest way. This is unbelievable. Psalm 39 and verse 6 states, "Behold, you have made my days handbreadths, and my lifetime is as naught before you. All is but total futility, all human existence, Selah." That's what the psalmist said. So what is this? You have made my days handbreadths. A handbreadth is a biblical measure, and it's this long. So our sages use a parable to explain the meaning of these words. They say like this: you have made my days handbreadths. This is what it is. Picture a person who is measuring and pulling a rope that is 70 amot long. That's some tens of feet, okay? Pulling this rope. But all that you have in your hand is the one handbreadth that you can hold at a time in your hand, because what has passed, and what hasn't come into the hand yet isn't in the equation either. So are the days of a person's life. All he has is the present moment. And this is why the Torah commands us to count 7 complete weeks, that we should connect all our days and weeks together so that our time should be complete. And how could this be done? How can our time ever be tamim, which is translated as complete and also has a connotation of perfect? If we are striving to do Hashem's will all the time, which is our exact emphasis during these days of the Sfirat Omer, as anyone who recites the nightly prayer is doubtless aware, then through our good deeds, our time will be joined together and exist, and be called timimot, complete. And these 7 weeks, of course, we all know, allude to the 7 attributes. And as we ask Hashem every day that we should merit to purify ourselves from our klipot, from the things that are holding us back, purify our own 7 attributes, and through our efforts cause the upper midot, the divine attributes, to be unified, causing blessing to flow throughout the whole creation. This is the deep prayer that accompanies the counting of the Sefirah every night. This is the deep meaning of these words in our Parashat Emor regarding what takes place in the Holy Temple the night after the first day of Passover. In verse 12 of chapter 23, and he, the Kohen, shall wave the Omer before Hashem, lirtzonechem, here translated as to gain favor for you, but which literally means for your will, for your desire. Because the Omer is barley, which is animal food. The Kohen is commanded to wave the Omer of barley before Hashem to show that we acknowledge and recognize and commit ourselves to our need to raise up our base animal nature to Hashem alone. Psalms 32, verse 9. Psalms 32, be not like a horse, like a mule, uncomprehending. That's the idea of waving the Omer, lifting up your animal nature and deeds that you have done until now. Lirtzonechem, that until now was only for your desire. Now lift yourself really before Hashem. And through this, know that Hashem is always watching, standing with us, that He is the one who empowers us to live. And know clearly that all of our lives is from Hashem, and therefore our ratzon, our will, is to be in His ratzon, in His will. And how would we ever do anything that would transgress His will? So these days raise us up through the element of sanctified time. So the program of Parashat Emor is about staying focused on Hashem. And everything is really connected, because it's the hardest thing in the world as we move through the cycles of our lives, through time, to remember that there's nothing in the world really but Hashem. And all this comes together today in the most beautiful way as we record this portion today in Jerusalem. Today is the 14th of Iyar, the second Passover, which we learn about in the book of Numbers. The children of Israel shall make the Passover offering in its appointed time, the verses state. In Parashat Bahalotcha, on the afternoon of the 14th of this month, you shall make it in its appointed time, in accordance with all its statutes and its ordinances, you shall make it. Moshe spoke to the children of Israel in the desert to make the Passover offering. So they made the Passover offering in the first month on the afternoon of the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert, according to all that Hashem had commanded Moshe. So did the children of Israel do. This is talking about Pesach and Nisan. But then there were men who were tamei because of contact with death, and therefore they could not make the Passover offering on that day. So they approached Moshe and Aaron on that day, and they said to him, those men said to Moshe, because we are impure, why should we be excluded? And the Hebrew also carries the meaning of diminished, so as not to bring the offering of Hashem in its appointed time with all the children of Israel. And Moshe said, wait, and I will hear what Hashem instructs concerning you. And then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, any person who becomes unclean with the dead or is on a distant journey, whether among you or in future generations, he shall make a Passover offering for Hashem. In the second month, on the 14th day, in the afternoon, they shall make it. They shall eat it with matzah and bitter herbs. That's today. It's not just because of the extenuating circumstances that these people couldn't bring their Passover offering on time. It was so much deeper than that, that they felt that they were not part of the klal, of the community. And the divine attribute, the sefirah, that shines today, the midah, therefore, that we seek to address today, is called chesed shebahod. It means the loving kindness of humility. And this is the secret of understanding everything about the second Passover, the idea of being included, of understanding who we are in this world, and of wanting to do for others and be part of the community. And this is also the secret of the second Passover. And the deepest thing about this month of Iyar, which is bridged by the counting of the Omer, is, as we know, this month is the month of healing. But what is the source of all healing in the world? Our sages teach us teshuvah, repentance, which we know is constant, is daily, is every moment, is rising to a new level, is shedding who we have been and starting all over again and realizing it's never too late, which is the whole theme of today, the second Passover. It's all about staying focused on Hashem's presence in our lives,